This is Everything is Broken and Completely Fine, written by Miriam Verheyden and read for you by Alexandra Bitton-Bailey. Preface. What happens after the happily ever after? After you got the man, the house, the job, and everything you thought you ever wanted. Movies and fairy tales conveniently end right there, with the last shot of the deliriously happy couple before panning out. Credits, sweeping music, the end. It's understandable. Who wants to see Cinderella yell at her prince for leaving wet towels on the floor again? Or watch pretty women Vivian get divorced from Edward because he's insufferably controlling? Even though we know on a rational level that happy endings aren't real, we still believe that the key to happiness is getting everything we want. After all, that's what we're being promised by clever advertisements and the gentle brainwashing of modern media. Become successful, rich, thin, find the perfect partner, live in the perfect house, and you'll be happy forever. Spoiler, it's a lie. I've been obsessed with happiness all of my life. It was my standard answer to the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my main criteria as a teenager, when it came to career plans, I just want to do something that makes me happy. I cared little about money, prospects, or suitability, believing that happiness trumped them all. The reason for my preoccupation with happiness is that I've been carrying around a dark secret for most of my life. I was an anxious child who constantly worried about my parents dying, about turning blind, about a third world war, about people not liking me. I also experienced periods of profound sadness and a world weariness so heavy that it was almost impossible for me to get out of bed sometimes. For many years, I had no idea what was wrong with me. I was led to believe that I was an ungrateful overthinker who took herself way too seriously and spent indecent amounts of time worrying about herself. My parents didn't believe in anxiety and depression, at least not for their daughter, who had no reason to be depressed, and they'd prescribe more work, so you don't have time to think so much. I grew up believing something was wrong with my personality, and I resolved to hide the dark side of me and hope nobody else would ever find it. At 23, I moved to Canada, the land of my dreams, to be with the man of my dreams, still a firm believer in the happily ever after. I put high hopes into this move, expecting that I'd left my demons behind in Germany, never to be bothered by them again. That didn't happen. Over the next 10 years, as I learned a new language, settled into my role as wife and stepmother, went back to school and found my footing in a new country, I was still plagued by strange episodes I couldn't control. At times, I would be hit by a rage so intense I was screaming unspeakable things at my husband, convinced he was the worst man in the world. At other times, I'd lie listlessly on the couch, unable to focus on a book or TV, staring at the ceiling and wondering what the point was of everything. Life seemed to be an endless slog of boring, exhausting days with no color or joy. I felt like I was stuck in a waiting room, where the wait was excruciating, but being called would mean the end. And I didn't know what was worse, the waiting or for everything to be over. Luckily, my moods would always fade after a while. We barely spoke about them, and I was halfway convinced that I was hiding them pretty well. We all had bad days, right? When I wasn't in one of my moods, I was cheerful, bubbly, happy, and full of life. Everything went...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?